or something. I don't know.
We're
All
back.
right, guys. We are back live. Sorry about that, guys. Everybody that's tuned in. I don't know what happened. We got kicked off Facebook. We must have said something that pissed somebody off. I don't know. That's very odd. Oh, good grief. But anyway, we'll wait. Everybody will hop back on here. We actually had a pretty solid audience going there for a few minutes. Maybe they'll come back on here. So,
hopefully.
All right, now people are popping back on here. Sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened. We just literally got kicked off Facebook for no reason. Hey, Eric, welcome back. Sorry. All the time I've been doing.
He was gushing about Danica again. Facebook said,
yeah, apparently they didn't like me talking about Danica and kicked us offline. So I guess we'll stop talking about Danica. Good grief. But that was, like I said, very odd. But no, you were right. Now talk about what you said. Tanner's sister was faster. That's what it was. Okay,
he didn't say faster. He said better driver. There's a difference.
Yes, thank you. See, you got my back on that one. That was wow. And all this time, I have never been kicked off Facebook like that. That was the first. So anyway, we'll move on. So before we left, Cameron was on the thing about what we can do to help build up dirt track racing and things like that. We were talking about fan bases from great drivers leaving the sport or moving on, and their fan base being left out. What do you think that does, and continue on with that discussion? Sorry about that.
Well, I feel like there was an influx of really influential drivers that left the mainstream of the sport, the NASCAR level of the sport, kind of around the same time period. A lot of drivers that people were rooting for 20 years. And when you root for somebody for that long, you're so connected to them that when they go away, you can pick a new driver all you want, but it just doesn't feel the same because you're not as connected to that. So I think what we need to do, at least at the dirt track level, to get people excited to be at the track every single week, is to connect the drivers to the fans. And I think that that's something that kind of started to die off a little bit as the sport started to get covered so heavily. It was so easy to find those connections on a grander scale in a different level of the sport. At dirt tracks, fans, they need that show, and the drivers need to know that people are rooting for them. And if people could see the day in and the day out that these drivers put in, the passion that they put in, the work they go through, the money that they take out of their own pocket, the vacations that they sacrifice to make this stuff happen. I think if people had more access to that, if they had more access to the drivers on a mass level, the fan bases would stick around much more. They would get more passionate. And it's not that they aren't now. These are just ways that I can see the sport can improve over the years. And that's something that I think that announcers can play a role in, is researching storylines, delivering those storylines. This is what this driver had to do this week. You remember that wreck they were in last week? How many hours did they put in this week to get that car fixed and back out here on the track? Because, I saw in one of the comments, some of those lower classes, they may not have those big teams, those big haulers that you see, for a sprint car driver or somebody that's sponsored a little better. So a lot of times these guys fix these cars themselves, and they spend hours after their day job to get there. And I think that the more that we can connect that passion to the passion that fans have when they root for a driver and kind of fuse them together and create this understanding with each other of how the sport works, I think it's only beneficial.
Yeah. And one of the things that I talk about too is all the great sponsors that come into the sport and things like that. And I talk about sponsors all the time and doing all that stuff. And with that, we're going to play the next commercial for our next sponsor, and it's Jay Bryant of Jay's Mobile Welding. Cannot talk about this guy enough. A great ambassador to the sport in anywhere you go.
Thank you, Jay Bryant of Jay's Mobile Welding and Fabrication, for all you do to support the Tri-State Pro Stock Series and myself. Jay is the title sponsor this year for the Tri-State Pro Stock Series. Jay owns a welding and fabrication business in Sacramento, California, can do all kinds of welding. If you need some welding repairs done in your car at the track, he usually has a welder available in his track. He also provides sheet metal to racers, so if you need any of these services, contact Jay at Jay's Mobile Welding and Fabrication.
So I tell everybody, and we talked about this, we had, and I don't know if you've had the opportunity to listen to Jerry Van Sickle. He announces on a lot of the IMCA shows. He's back in Iowa. Had him on the show and talked to him. I love to listen to that guy announce races. If you can't get excited when that guy's announcing, you don't have a heartbeat. I don't care. He's got one of those, I can't even explain his voice. This talented guy. And when we were on here, we talked about it. Racing is you can't have racing with just one group. NASCAR tried to have cars on the track and race with no fans. It sucked. There's no other way to say it. It sucked.
Can't do it.
Racing is about the cars on the track and the driver. The pit crew in the pits working on those cars to get them out there. The track promoter putting in the hours and efforts, getting the surface ready, all the things that they've got to do to bring in sponsors to pay the racers. You as the announcer talking about all of the things that go together. And then it all goes back to, if you don't have fans in the stands, nothing we do is worthwhile. It's, I guess the best way to say it, it's a symbiotic relationship with every single person at that racetrack. Nobody should ever feel like they can't walk up to you and talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if a racer, and we all have bad nights, let's face it, don't let that bad night affect that 6-year-old kid that wants to come up and talk to you after the race. You cannot ever do that. Give them the time. I don't care how pissed you are. Say, hey, thank you for coming. Appreciate you coming over here. Sign that autograph. You don't even have to say nothing more than that.
I'll give you a story that relates directly to this, and it just drove it home for me. And I was probably only 16, 17 years old when this happened, and I had no clue where my life was going to go or how far I would go in the racing industry or whatever. But here we are. Went to Sonoma Raceway for several years in a row with my parents to go to the NASCAR Cup Series. One weekend that we were there, I can't remember exactly which year it was. Paul Menard's pit crew took us. We bought a pit pass that year, and it didn't turn out to be what we thought it was going to be. But Paul Menard's pit crew didn't have near the attention as everybody else did. But he was my dad's favorite guy, so we went up and we tried to talk to their pit crew, and they took us straight into the garage to meet Paul Menard. He came out of his trailer, he talked to us, and then when we got done, they pretty much told us, "All right, you're in here now, so you guys can just kind of do whatever you want. Just don't get yourself in trouble." So we ran into just about every racer. I mean, and the two stories that I'll always remember there is that, one, Jeff Gordon would not sign autographs for adults until all the kids were gone. Was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Adults would hand their stuff to their kids and attempt to get their kids to go up there, and he would take that poster right back to the parent and say, "I'll sign it for you happily as soon as all of the kids get their stuff done." Now, the two stories of this day that really drove things home for me, and, you know, I'll give the benefit of the doubt that it was probably a bad day like you just mentioned. My sister stood next to Ryan Newman's trailer for a long time, like for an hour and a half, and she was maybe 12 years old at the time. Been a Ryan Newman fan her whole life. Big, oversized Ryan Newman t-shirt while she was standing there waiting. Ryan Newman arrived to the trailer and pretty much gave her the cold shoulder. She asked for his autograph, and he opened up his trailer and he shut the door in her face while she was standing there waiting for him pretty much alone. She was devastated and heartbroken. Maybe not 20 minutes later, Chad Knaus came around the corner, and my sister got his attention, and he sat down, talked to her, arranged to have the crew get her they gave her a little lug nut from off the car, completely changed her mood, flipped her around. For the rest of her time paying attention to racing, she was a Jimmy Johnson fan.
Yep.
And that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to go back to Bristol last year. And I have such mixed emotions when I talk about this one driver. probably one of the more talented NASCAR drivers, if not one of the top talents in the sport right now, being Kyle Busch. I'm going to say a bad word on here. He's a dick. There is no other way to say it. He's a dick. You see him after there. He's a spoiled child, whatever, very passionate. But if you see the stuff he does when the cameras are not around, inspirational stories. If you ever have a chance, listen to his story about the Purple Heart in his collection. Amazing story. You see videos of him walking up to people at just random stuff and talking to them. You can't say that about the guy when you see it. It's like, why can't you take what you do away from the track and do it at the track? And then we seen him at Bristol. Kids standing in line to get an autograph at Bristol at the dirt races last year. It just gave him the complete shoulder, wouldn't give him the time of the day. Yes, I know you're there to race a car, but you know what? You're there to race a car for the fans that are standing there. Take the 5 minutes out and sign autographs. It wouldn't have hurted a thing. You do this outside of it. Why couldn't you do it there? Since I've started doing the show, we talked off air. I've talked to several people involved in NASCAR at high levels. I talked to Ernie Irvan, one of the coolest people I've ever had the chance to sit down and talk to. Just super nice guy, wonderful to talk to. Kevin LePage, another one, gave up his time late at night to sit here and talk just like we are. Talk to Jeremy Mayfield. I don't ask guests to do things very often, but I have a friend who is a huge Jeremy Mayfield fan and talked about it. He's like, man, I got Jeremy Mayfield sweatpants, underwear, wind chimes, all this stuff. And I asked him off air, I said, I would ever ask this. I said, but would you do me a favor? Would you text this guy and just say hey to him and tell him I told him? He did. That dude was so happy afterwards. And it was just a little thing and he did it. And you meet people like that.
It's really important to our sport, and it's really important at our dirt track levels. And I certainly didn't mean to, turn this into a NASCAR debate, but it's one of those things that, it's funny. I do a job where I specialize. I'm a professional at taking something that probably should take 30 minutes to say and put it into 30 seconds. But when it comes to talking about dirt track racing, I'll just go on and on and on and on. So whenever it's time to stop me, you just stop me. But it is so important to our sport. It's really important for me to our track. That's the role that I want to play there, is connecting the fans to the drivers in a way that they haven't been before. And I'm certainly not the best traveled, but sticking a microphone next to the race director while he's telling the drivers to come out, asking to, instead of during an interview, instead of asking a driver the basic generic questions, what did you see on the track? What did you do on the track? Instead of asking those questions, asking questions like, when you took the checkered flag, how did it feel? What was the first thought that went through your head? I think those are the things that we've got to connect drivers to fans, is that pure passion that they feel in their heart, because they really do feel it.
Yeah. Well, we have some more comments that have come on here. Tracy Webster, another great supporter of racing and loves racing. Don't forget about Miss Carla Laney and Miss Brenda Kirby. There's a relationship between them. Also, they are great women racers. If I claim ignorant, I don't know who those people are. I apologize, but we'll give them a shout out, because women racers, I'm 100%. There you go. Absolutely. Then Medford regular popped in here. Bob Valencia. What's up, fellas? I hope you're doing better, Bob.
You want to know something about Bob? I bragged about this when we were doing some GoFundMes for Bob over the summer. Bob is the absolute poster boy for what people at the racetrack should be. And maybe it's just a little thing to me, but sometimes Bob directs the races for us. And every once in a while, the 50-50 drawing comes up. And he always comes up with something that will happen to me if I don't pull his ticket, something bad that's going to happen to me if I don't pull his ticket out. He always shows me his long string of tickets. And then as I get to the door, he always says, "Hey, Cam." And I turn around, "What's up?" And he says, "If you pull my ticket out, I'll give half of it back to the charity." And that's just the kind of guy he is, and the kind of people that we need out at the racetrack. It's great.
Right. And then David Tompkin, "Hey, what's up?" And then Davey Munoz is agreeing with what you're saying about it being the announcer. You're talking about bringing the fans. That's kind of why we do this Facebook show. We have a lot of fans that tune in and listen to this. We see local drivers that don't always have time to do on here. That's kind of what this got started. It's turned into something a whole lot more than what we planned on. It's not a bad thing. Davey, Davey's on here, and I got to tell you, the first night I did the show, man, I was sitting in the cab of my truck at a truck stop. We weren't even super sophisticated. I didn't have half the equipment you need to do this. We started it. The very first subject that was ever talked about on this show, it was telling Cameron, we talked about Porta-John etiquette in the pits at a racetrack. Men, there are ladies that use them. Be courteous. It's simple process. We don't need to talk any further on it. We did a whole period of it. We had Jerry, Mr. Controversy Bartlett on here. And if you know Jerry, you can only imagine how fun that was. Davey literally, as soon as I hung up, he's like, dude, how did you do that? That was awesome. And this is a guy that's been on the radio, been doing this stuff professionally. He's asking me, like, I don't know how we did it. We just turned it on and we went live. I don't know. It's really not. I have zero broadcasting experience when we started. None. I had no desire to go into broadcasting. I just like to talk. So it is what it is. And so
that's all you really
we're
need.
Over a year later and here we are. So it's kind of cool. I like doing this stuff. To me, it's fun. Chris Biggs says, absolutely right. Bob is the best. So thank you, Chris. Another great sponsor I have this year, Chris Biggs. He painted the chassis for my car this year. So huge shout out to Chris Biggs and what he's done to help support me personally. We're going to run another sponsor on here tonight. We're going to run VIP Medical Concierge. You hear me talk about him often. Robert Baker's super passionate fan of sports and supporter of the racing community. So thank you. Hang on.
Thank you, Robert Wayne Baker of VIP Medical Concierge, for all that you do to support the Tri-State Pro Stock Series. VIP Medical Concierge will be available to all the racers at many of the tracks that we run this year. Services include IV hydration, medical care. If you need to see a doctor and can't get in to see during the week, he'll be on site to diagnose any medical conditions, things like that. Thank you, Robert Wayne Baker and VIP Medical Concierge.
You're going to see Robert Baker. He's going to be at Boone this year again for the second year doing IV hydration at the Super Nationals for IMCA. So I know he's looking forward to that. And I'm going to give a shout out to Vaughn Stone, Vaughn's Pit Skylight. Vaughn Stone's another one. If you're going to order some pit skylights, you're not going to go wrong with Vaughn Stone's products. Make sure you mention the show or my name on there too as well. So yeah, we got lots of stuff here, lots of comments while we were gone. You see too many racers who don't realize that there's little kids watching them. It's always awesome to see these kids come up and say, hey, can I get an autograph? 100%, Zach, 100%. You're welcome, Robert, says, and then Ron Crisafulli, he's a photographer. I know he does a lot of photography work at Stockton Dirt Track. I watch your show and Davies both. Always entertaining and informative. Need to bring more fan base to fill the grandstands this summer. We are doing our part here. You hear Cameron, he uses his broadcast format to help do that. Every racer, spend 5 minutes. Tell them where you're going to be racing at for the weekend. Bring people to the track. If you know somebody that's never been, bring them to the pits with you. They'll be hooked for life. I promise you. So then you got halfback Cameron. That's from Bob.
Oh, he's talking about his give half of the 50 back. I said 53 times. I don't know why.
Yeah. Eric Schwab, bring the kids fan club. Bring the kids fan club back like Skinner had. Trophy dashes. Kids went down the track and got a trophy and an autograph.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
this was a really cool thing, and this is something that's we did a little bit of this year. This is one of those things where the promoting group has just been trying to figure out the right way to do it, the right package to give to them. And this is something that will show up. It was just one of those deals where this year I can't begin to describe how much that promoting group, Southern Oregon Motorsports, got done in just a couple months, and how much they had to continue to work on as the year went on. And I was very open about it with the fans. This is a work in progress. Everybody that's here is doing this for the first time and is learning as much as they can. The amount of hours that those guys put in, I just can't imagine being somebody that actually financially takes the track and tries to save it. I was just the announcer guy that got paid to watch and meet the drivers. But this is something that we're focused on, I promise. And it's something that we're just trying to figure out what the right way to do it is.
Well, and I didn't know Travis Snyder till this year. I met him. He come up to the tower when we were filming the race up there on Facebook Live. Talked with him quite about. He is very enthusiastic about a lot of things. I got to talk to him a little bit. Super nice guy at the awards banquet. Travis Hoppus, he's learned it's a lot taking it on. Dane Smith, if you haven't got to meet Dane, Dane's a legend out here. Always at the racetrack riding around. He's awesome to sit and talk and tell stories. I need to get him on here very soon. We've talked about it. I got to sit down and get that on. Dane's super neat guy. Do you have any fuel deals for racers? Need 2 barrels and a hookup? I don't personally, Tracy, but I know that fuel in Oregon is way cheaper than in California. Hayes Oil, there's a couple of them in Medford. They'll take care of you. I don't know how to get it to you. I think you're down in Bakersfield area. I can't haul it. We'll get in trouble hauling it on a semi truck. If I could, I would bring it to you. But
you were just talking about Travis Snyder. It's interesting knowing Travis because his dad was the announcer when I was growing up, and he sounds just like his dad. Like it's almost identical. It throws me off when I'm in the booth because that was one of the things that I really harped on in the first couple of weeks was I kind of just couldn't believe that I was in the same booth doing the same job that our Charles Snyder did. He is a legend of that racetrack. And I can remember this. See, those are the roles that announcers play. I think that announcers really have to take on the responsibility and understand it. I can remember walking up to that track, the first race of the year, in the parking lot, walking up to get in line and hearing our Charles say, my, on the grandstand speaker and just feel like I was at home. And that carries on to generations. So the announcers have a big responsibility. So we as a group, I know there's several of them in here right now, we have to understand that responsibility and take it seriously and have fun doing it because the people know when we're having fun.
Yep. And, and we talk about this a lot. A good announcer can make a great show. A bad announcer can make a great show bad. I hate to say it. It's as simple as that. And it's, like I said, and just so everybody knows, when we stream down there on April 8th, I was telling him we're going to share, and I'm going to show him. He gets to use it first. Here you go.
Hey,
it's waiting for you. Brand new, not even out of the box. First time you'll get to use it right there. So we'll be calling the race on April 8th at Wairika together. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I want to get to hear somebody that really announces. And with the setup we got, I can actually hear in the headphones now. That's what I was saying before we started. I didn't know how to hook up equipment. You can't hear the other person, so you're guessing what they're saying, and it didn't work so well. So we came a long way in a year or so. And, I think we're going to end it right here on a good high note. I'm going to run our last commercial for the night, and that's Lyle Hopper from Winning Attitude Motorsports. Super great guy, great supporter of the Tri-State Pro Stocks, a member of the helping us get all this stuff going. Can't say enough about what he does for the sport as well. So
I would like to thank Lyle Hopper, Winning Attitude Motorsports in Paradise, California, for his great sponsorship of the Tri-State Pro Stock Series and myself. Lyle is a guy that can get you parts at the best prices available to you. He also provides setup help at the track. He can help you with engine information, engine tune-ups, diagnosis, things like that. For all your racing, chassis, and parts needs, contact Lyle Hopper at Winning Attitude Motorsports.
Any parting thoughts for the night? Anybody you want to thank? And then I got one more quick story with Cameron because I found this kind of funny.
I just want to thank the fans and Southern Oregon Motorsports for having me. I'm super excited to do the April 8th gig. Really thankful for you guys for bringing me on so I can kind of rant about how much I love doing this. It's one of those things where when it's not happening, you just feel a little empty. When it's the off season, you feel a little empty. But the people that have been really patient at Southern Oregon Speedway while we learn things and while we run into technological problems. There was one night where the transponder timing loop wasn't coming in, and it was just a real mess to deal with. And the important thing for me is to just be transparent. You know, we got some drivers that drove lots of hours to get to us, and the car turnout for their class didn't turn out like what they were hoping for. So we let them run some laps just because they made the trip. And sometimes that's frustrating for a fan base, is to watch one car drive around for 15 laps. But, you know, we got to be transparent with them and say, hey, they made the trip, and, you know, we're going to let them run the car while they're here because they were faithful in us. So we're going to give that back to them. But really the people I'm most thankful for is the fans and being patient while this track gets it together. I can promise that while they have a full off season under them, there's going to be some epic things that happen at the racetrack. The schedule is fantastic. There's a great balance of memorial races to just straight up fun nights. There's a lot of races too. And from the feedback that I've seen from the drivers recently, the payouts are going to be great. And we're just excited to get back to it. Lots of work to do, but we're really excited.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell a quick story. When I got a hold of Cameron about coming down to Wairika and announcing with the show, I didn't know I can have to job interview with his TV station. They wanted to know who he was going to go down and talk on. That was kind of a unique situation. I had to say that was kind of interesting. So make sure you have a spooktacular October race for the kids. Brent, we shut down up here by the end of September. Most tracks do. Our weather starts getting bad in October. And winter sets in. We have a lot of those races down in California where the weather gets bad, but we're more of a mountainy terrain, so we're already kicking into winter gear when we get to that time of the year. It gets tough to run those late October races up here. So, all right, thanks guys, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hang tight. We'll end it right here. Hang on.